I think that video should be removed if Phil values his reputation for giving trusted advice on moving house.
When it comes to moving home, there are good, bad, terrible and great estate agents. So it's essential that you know how to tell them apart. Charlie has been working with agents since 1999 and there's nothing he doesn't know about how they work. In these videos, he shares everything you need to know to get your home sold quickly for the best possible price. Let's get you moving.
Phil Spencer's tips on choosing the right estate agent. We're going to have a little, it's not a very long video, it's only 2 minutes 45 long. We're going to press play and we're going to see my reaction to this shocker, frankly. I don't agree with a single thing he says in here, but let's just go and see what happens.
Hello, I'm Phil Spencer, and I'd like to spend the next minute or so talking about one of the most important questions you should ask when it comes to choosing who to entrust to help sell your home.
I'm curious to know, I can't remember what is the most important question to ask when choosing who to instruct to sell your home. Let's see what this question is.
Where and how will you market it? Or in other...
No. So Phil Spencer says the most important question to ask when you're choosing someone to sell your house is where and how will you market it? That's a bit like inviting an electrician round to fix some complicated electronics problems and saying to him, before you start, I want to know exactly how you're going to fix the complicated electronics that I don't know enough about myself that I had to ask you around in the first place. Doesn't make any sense. And asking an estate agent where and how they plan to market your property assumes that you're an expert in that. And if you're not, what's the point in asking? Because they could say anything in answer to that question and you wouldn't even know if they were telling the truth or anything. It's an irrelevant question to ask because the estate agent stands to lose your entire fee if they fail to sell your property, okay? And they do this for a living. So provided you trust the agent you've chosen, don't start questioning how they did their job. It just isn't going to help. And they could answer, and what are you going to say? Oh, well, that sounds okay, I suppose.
In other words, you want to know what the fees they charge you will actually buy you in terms of exposure.
No. The fees they charge you are for their professional services in advising you on the marketing price, in preparing the property marketing itself, getting it out there, yes, advertising it everywhere, but then the real hard work for agents comes with the viewings, negotiating an offer you're going to accept, and then handling the sale through to completion. You don't need to say, where are you spending my money on marketing my property? Because honestly, they know better than you where to market your property. Remember that. Honestly, agents know better than you do where to market your property. And if they didn't, you wouldn't need them.
But in my opinion, one of the most important parts of selling is ensuring that your home will be seen by as many prospective buyers as possible.
That's part of it, and I don't disagree with that point. Being seen by as many buyers as possible, but you don't have to be seen by everybody. In the end, all you need is 2 funded buyers, in other words, people in a position to proceed, people who actually can buy your house, who are competing against each other to buy it and outbid each other. And often agents will find those 2 people before they've even put your property onto the open market, right? And that means your house is going to be sold very, very quickly. So it's not always necessary to get maximum exposure on all the property websites. Not always. So I'm sorry, Phil. Yeah, of course, exposure is good, but only if you're struggling to sell. Like you only need to go full blunderbuss marketing everywhere if there's no initial interest from registered buyers, okay? Property portals like Zoopla get around 35 million visits every month. Let's just break that number down. They're saying that 35 million visits, I don't think that half the population of the country are visiting Zoopla every month. They're just not. There's lots of people going back again and again and again, but this sounds like an impressive number, but unless those are 35 million people who want your property, it's a meaningless number. Zoopla says 35 million, Rightmove says 100 million. Another place says 1 million. In the end, you only need 2 qualified competing buyers. So don't get seduced by these big marketing numbers because they don't make any difference. Lots of properties sit on Zoopla with 35 million visits every month and don't sell.
It really is essential to choose the right company to help.
If you're serious about selling. If you're not serious about selling, why are you putting your house on the market, right? Let's assume that you are serious about selling, Phil. And if you are serious about selling, yes, of course, it is important who you choose to put on the market with.
I always think it's worth inviting 3 local agents to come round and value your home.
Did you hear that? Phil thinks it's worth inviting 3 local agents who'll come round and value your home. I'm trying to think of something to say that isn't really rude about that piece of advice. Not about Phil, but about that piece of advice. Phil's a nice guy. Phil knows about buying and selling houses. He doesn't know about choosing an estate agent. Sorry, that's my opinion, okay? I'm very happy to have this debate with him if he wants to. That's in my professional opinion. Getting 3 people around to value your house is a fairly obvious thing. I don't quite know how you'd end up choosing an estate agent if you didn't do that, so not deeply insightful.
Once you've either emailed them or drawn up a shortlist, it's a good idea to pop into their offices for a chat with the sales manager to try and get a better idea if they really would be the right people for the job.
Okay, but you've said pick 3. You haven't said how to pick 3. So your video is entitled Tips on Choosing the Right Estate Agent. And choosing, you're saying pick 3, but you haven't said which 3. In other words, you've completely missed out the most important and most difficult part.
This is kind of the tipping point that should help your decision about whether you're going to progress that conversation and actually fix a date for the valuation. But before you talk fees or the price at which you might sell your home, you need to ask that question. Where and how will they market it? Or in other words, you want to know what the fees they charge you will actually buy you in terms.
No, he's doubling down on this piece of advice. That is not. All estate agents advertise on all the portals pretty much, right? That is not a defining choice. And there are some agents who don't advertise on the portals and still get great prices for your house. I totally disagree with that piece of advice that he's doubled down on, saying, ask where they advertise your property, okay? That is not the defining choice maker about which agent you should use. Because so many, you go to a high street full of agents and you'll find that most of them are on most of the sites. So how does that advice help? I'm sorry, it just doesn't help, that advice.
Of exposure. Whilst, as the old adage tells us, and I think it's absolutely true, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
I do agree with that. Never ever go with the lowest fee estate agent, because not only if you pay peanuts you get monkeys, but the cheapest estate agent, as in the one that costs you the least money, is the one that gets the highest price for your house. Doesn't matter what their fee is. As long as the price they get is higher than their fee would have been, they've made you money, okay? So once you've chosen an agent that you trust, pay the fee they ask. Don't ever go with a cheap agent if you want to get a good price.
But you do also need confidence that the fee is a fair one and has helped towards generating the maximum exposure and therefore the best possible price. With 9 out of 10 property searches starting online, my advice is to make sure your agent is serious and is going to market it on all the big property portals.
Make sure your agent is serious. No, I'm just having a laugh. I don't really want to sell your house. I don't take my career or my livelihood seriously at all. I'm sorry, Phil. What sort of advice is that? Make sure your agent is serious. I've never come across an agent that wasn't very serious about their business. You're now reiterating for the 3rd time, make sure they're on all the main property portals. Basically, most of them are. And secondly, this is not the biggest decision factor when choosing an agent. Do you trust them? Do you have a good relationship with them? Do they instill confidence in their abilities? And yes, what's their strategy for getting the best price for your property? Obviously, it includes marketing the portals.
Such as Zoopla, Prime Location, Rightmove. Collectively, these sites generate millions and millions of inquiries for estate agents up and down the country.
And yet, hundreds of thousands of properties that are on all of their websites remain unsold. Phil, okay? You make it sound like the more millions of people you get looking at your property on the website, the better the chance of selling. It's simply not true. The best estate agents, who also market on your property on the portals, will have qualified buyers registered and waiting, okay? And may or may not even need to put your property on the portal. So I disagree fundamentally with the premise of this video, which is ask them where they're marketing property, number 1. Ask them where they're marketing your property, number 2. And did you know how many millions of people are on the property portals, number 3. This is beginning to feel like an advert for the property portals.
So they really are the go-to place for anybody looking to buy.
As long as you don't mind not getting a response when you inquire via the portals, because anyone who's tried to move house seriously knows that actually if you want to get a serious response from an agent, you call the agent directly, you go to the agent's own website, because inquiries sent via portals, Rightmove's own figures, 40% of inquiries sent via Rightmove go unanswered, and there's a reason for that. And it's not because the agents don't want to sell houses.
Do try to avoid agents who limit or delay the marketing of your property. Only consider the ones who will position it on all the major portals.
Right, well, I think there's the fait accompli there. This whole video is just basically saying, please make sure you use the portals and don't listen to agents that say they don't need them. I disagree fundamentally with that advice. I would trust an estate agency owner to make his own decisions on what's best for his business, which includes selling your property. If he's confident, he or she is confident that they can sell your property without being on all the portals, and you have a good gut feel about them, well, they stand to lose out if they're wrong, don't they, as well as you. You should trust someone. If you find someone you trust, don't question their marketing approach. As long as you're happy that the basics are there, of course.
Basically, if you want to know that you've got a full market value, then you want to know you've had full market exposure. So that's my message. Before you instruct any estate agent to sell your house, make sure you're happy with the answer to that question. Where and how will you market it? Good luck.
With that advice, luck is what you're going to need, right? Because that is, I'm sorry, that is not good advice. Invite 3 agents to come and value your home. That is not a piece of advice anybody needs. Everyone's going to do that anyway. And you haven't said how to choose those 3 agents out of the 15 to 20 you're available. I'm sorry, if I appear passionate about this, it's because I am. When people who are as trusted as Phil Spencer dispense advice, no pun intended, it's got to be good. And this just isn't. Ask what their fee will buy you. Hopefully, you'll only pay the fee if you get the move done. And if you get the move done, then you know what your fee's buying you. I don't understand what that means. How much of their fee are they going to spend on marketing? That just doesn't make any sense. Find out where and how they'll market your property. Well, of course, find out where and how, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Avoid agents that limit or delay the marketing. At the risk of getting into trouble, this does sound like paid promotion for one of the portals. I can't say which one, but I think it rhymes with hoopla. I'm sorry. I think this is disingenuous advice. I have nothing against Phil. I think he's great. I think his advice on houses, preparing houses for sale and buying and selling houses is great. This piece of advice about choosing the right estate agent is, I'm afraid, totally flawed in my opinion. Love to know what you guys think about that in the comments below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. And good luck choosing an agent. Let me save you the 2 minutes and 44 seconds that it would take you to watch Phil's video, because the advice is make sure the agent's on all the portals, make sure the agent's on all the portals, especially Zoopla, right? That's basically the advice from that video. Don't sell your house unless you're serious about selling your house. Thanks, Phil. And don't choose an estate agent who isn't serious about selling your house. I've yet to come, I mean, there are good agents and there are bad agents, but I've never come across an agent that wasn't serious about wanting to sell someone's house. Stick to the advice on moving house. Don't put advice on how to choose an agent, Phil, because that right there is proof, if you need it, of how nobody really understands what estate agents do.
If you need to find an agent, why not give Charlie's website a try? Just go to bestagent.co.uk and click Find Your Agent. It's the easiest way to find the one that's best for you.
Rant over. No, I could keep ranting about this. Right? That kind of advice can lead to people losing out on their dream home. And I'm sorry, that's just how I feel about it. We can't really start shooting anything while we have this uncooperative extra who's just refusing to play ball today.